Hey folks, welcome back to Marvelous Videos, where today we're taking a trip back to the 80s to explore horror movies that are now comedy cult classics. While some movies in this list do have some horror comedy aspects to them, for others it was sheer luck, or bad luck, depending on how you look at it. Now that's enough yapping. Subscribe to us, tap on that bell icon, and strap into your seats as the ride is about to begin. Gremlins. Randall Peltzer, an unsuccessful inventor, decides to buy a small furry creature in a Chinatown antique store. The owner refuses to sell the creature, which is called a mogwai, but the owner's grandson later sells it to Randall with rules to remember. He is never to feed it after midnight and never to expose it to sunlight, as sunlight is lethal to the mogwai. Thinking that the rules are simple enough, Randall gifts the mogwai to Billy, who names it Gizmo. Gizmo is friendly and docile, but when water spills on Gizmo, 5 mischievous and destructive mogwai sprout up. They trick Billy into feeding them after midnight and form cocoons after eating. These cocoons sprout into lizard-like creatures called the Gremlins, who start killing people. This chaotic story is the crux of the 1984 movie Gremlins, which was directed by Joe Dante. At the time of its release, although Gremlins was a financial success, there were many who hated the film. Some believed the movie would be about a cute, cuddly creature and were shocked to see graphic violence, while the others who expected horror believed that the comedy was not up to the mark of contemporary horror comedies. Years later, however, Gremlins has received the prestigious title of a cult classic and is praised for its observative satire. The Return of the Living Dead. Frank, the foreman of the Uneeda Medical Supply Warehouse in Louisville, Kentucky, accidentally unleashes trioxin, a toxic gas that reanimates corpses into unkillable zombies that hunt for brains. The nearby graveyard is the first place of contamination as hordes of zombies begin to rise from their graves. The first victims of the zombie attack are Freddy's girlfriend and his friends who had been waiting for him outside the warehouse. With the zombie infection taking over all of Louisville, military officer Colonel Grover orders nuclear artillery to be dispatched in the area and has all the zombies killed along with the survivors. Unknown to Grover, the fires from the explosion release trioxin fumes into the atmosphere, causing toxic rain to fall all over the country. Directed by Dan O'Bannon, The Return of the Living Dead was released in 1985. O'Bannon was a man of the craft and wouldn't have any of his actors do things he wouldn't do himself. He offered a bonus fee to anyone who offered to eat calf brains on screen, and he ate it himself first. His dedication is visible in the film, which is now widely considered a comedy cult classic for revolutionizing the zombie genre and having some of the most rib-tickling scenes in a horror comedy. Lady Terminator. The Queen of the South Seas is a goddess of sex who seduces men and devours them with the help of a snake that resides in her vagina. One man outsmarts the Queen and grabs her snake, which turns into a dagger. The Queen is enraged and swears revenge on his great-granddaughter. Decades pass, and the man's great-granddaughter, Erica, aspires to be a pop star. The Queen, who's been looking for an opportunity to strike, takes control of Tanya, an anthropologist investigating the legend of the Queen of the South Sea by having a snake enter her vagina. Tanya goes on a rampage looking for Erica, but Erica has on her side the sword of her great-grandfather passed on to her, and Max McNeil, a detective. With their help, Erica destroys Tanya for good. Though Lady Terminator is not related to James Cameron's franchise The Terminator in any way, the posters of the film imitated them to boost sales. This mockbuster was directed by Toot Jalil and is undoubtedly a comedy cult classic. Though it wasn't intended to be one, the blatant ripoffs from Terminator, the over-the-top acting, and a nonsensical exploitation plot, it's the kind of movie that's so bad you can't help being entertained by it. Rock and Roll Nightmare. Members of the rock band Triton head to an isolated farmhouse in Ontario, Canada with their significant others to record their new music. As they get busy recording, the demons in the house begin to kill and possess the people until only John is left. As the demon lackeys are unable to take his soul, Beelzebub himself arrives in front of John, but he's in for a shock when John reveals that he is Intercessor, an archangel in disguise. There were no no other people in the house, and he had merely cast his shadows to confuse the demons. Beelzebub and Intercessor then battle, and Intercessor wins, destroying Beelzebub for good. Rock and Roll Nightmare is the 1987 direct-to-video horror flick directed by John Fasano. Originally titled The Edge of Hell, the movie was shot within a week. Bringing some more so bad that it's good charm to this list, Rock and Roll Nightmare doesn't have the best set design or acting. With a measly budget of $52,000, it's not a huge surprise as to why. What you can expect, however, is some really good 80s metal. So put this movie up and rock on. Chopping Mall. Employees of the Park Plaza decide to unwind after a stressful day at the mall by throwing an after-hours party. A lightning storm outside strikes the mall and activates the Protectors, who are high-tech security robots installed in the mall to catch thieves using tasers and tranquilizers. The Protectors begin attacking the 8 members in the party, who are left to the mercy of technology. Will they survive, or will the robots reign supreme? Watch the movie to find out. Chopping Mall, directed by Jim Wynorski, was initially called Killbots, but as it performed very badly in the test screening, it was renamed Chopping Mall and released in 1986. The movie received an okay response in the theaters, but really took off after its VHS release. The plot has a lot of holes, and the exaggerated atmosphere of fear created by the bots seems silly to modern viewers, but Chopping Mall remains serious throughout. You can call Chopping Mall a number of things. Boring is surely not one of them, which is why it's been embraced as a comedy cult classic. Crawlspace. Carl Gunther is a psychopath, and there is no doubt about it. He started off as a reasonably skilled doctor who earned his living by performing euthanasia, but was driven by shame to quit when he found out that his father was a doctor at the Dachau concentration camp. His father used to kill Jewish prisoners in the name of euthanasia as well. Years later, Gunther has turned into a serial killer, lending out his apartment to lone female tenants whom he tortured and killed. Gunther is confronted by Joseph Steiner, whose brother died when he was under the care of Gunther in a Buenos Aires hospital, and knows about his Nazi heritage. Gunther kills Steiner and leaves him in his new tenant Lori's bathtub. Lori, shocked, tries to make a run for it, but is trapped. She manages to free his only live victim and, using his own gun, kills him. This is the plot of Crawlspace, directed by David Schmoller and released in 1986. What's even crazier than the plot is what happened behind the scenes. The star of the movie, Klaus Kinski, was eccentric and difficult to work with. He refused to say lines, didn't let the director say action or cut, and started fistfights with the crew. The production refused to have the big-name actor removed, and the crew begged Schmoller to have Kinski murdered. Kinski's wild presence in the film and eccentricities that snuck past from behind the scenes give an unexpected comedic sense to the film. If you don't believe us, watch the movie to find out. Pieces. Pieces, or The Night Has a Thousand Screams, is a 1982 slasher film directed by Juan Picker-Simón. The movie centers around Timmy Reston, a kid with an unhealthy obsession for jigsaw puzzles. When he's 10 years old, his mom berates him for playing with the jigsaw of a nude woman, so he hacks her up with an axe. The cops don't suspect the young boy and send him to live with his aunt. Years later, Timmy changes his name and gets a respectable job as the dean of Boston University. His obsession returns, and he starts to create a human jigsaw puzzle by murdering female students of the university. Lieutenant Bracken and Sergeant Holden crack the case and shoot Timmy as he's about to finish the puzzle. The coast, however, is not clear yet, as the woman from the jigsaw rises and attacks Kendall. The nonsensical plot twists, which include a Bruce Lee imitator, are hilariously bad, and the entire movie seems like a fever dream that needs to be seen to be believed. Pieces is full of plot holes, but it will keep you entertained throughout its run, so give it a watch now. Rawhead Rex. Howard Hollenbeck, a professor, decides to take his wife and children to Ireland, where religious artifacts attract his attention. During the course of his research, lightning strikes a stone column in a field and raises a huge monster called Rawhead. Rawhead begins a killing spree, brutally slaughtering anyone he finds, and one of his unfortunate victims is Howard's son. Howard, using old church records, finds a weapon that can only be wielded by a woman. Howard's wife activates confiscates the weapon and seals him back underground. As the movie ends, Rawhead rises again to begin tormenting the local folk. Before Clive Barker wrote Hellraiser, he wrote Rawhead Rex, which was adapted into a film in 1986 by George Pavlou. Though it was written as a straightforward horror, the movie comes across as a comedy, owing largely to the low-budget costume of Rawhead. The goofy monster looks like the love child of King Kong and Frankenstein's monster, if Frankenstein only had access to bad quality rubber to make his monster. There are bizarre elements throughout that don't make a lot of sense, but the campy vibe, coupled by a good story by Barker, is what made the movie a cult classic. Devil's Story. Bernard Launois's 1986 French movie Devil's Story was released in France as Il était une fois le diable, or Once Upon a Time, the Devil. The movie is so bizarre that you would have to see it at least a couple of times to make sense of it. Devil's Story is essentially about a deformed man who is not sane and lives with his mother. He dons an SS uniform and goes on a killing spree, murdering anybody and everybody he finds. Meanwhile, a man and a woman stay in a haunted castle that is modified into a hotel. The woman hardly gets any sleep as she's plagued by nightmares. How do these two stories meet? Watch Devil's Story to find out. We wish we could tell you that they were the only two plot points in the film, but there is an old man who hates a black horse and wants to kill it, a mummy, an ancient queen, and a curse. Considered one of the best of the worst, Devil's Story is a French film you ought not to miss. Reanimator. Herbert West is a smart scientist, but as a wise man once said, there is very little difference between insanity and brilliance. West discovers a novel method of reanimating dead tissue and successfully reanimates a dead cat. Along with roommate Dan Kane, he begins experiments on human subjects by stealing corpses. Dr. Halsey, the dean of the medical school, is killed by a reanimated corpse, and West reanimates him as well. His daughter and Dan's fiancée, Megan, is horrified to see her father in a state of being undead. Their experiments attract Dr. Hill, who wants the reagent for himself and blackmails West. West, unable to part with his invention, kills him and reanimates his head. Dr. Hill realizes that thanks to the reanimator, he now has the ability to control other undead people and uses them as he wishes. He kidnaps and sexually assaults Megan, but Dan and West arrive to save her and kill Dr. Hill for good. As Dan takes her to the hospital, it's revealed that Megan is dead. Unable to part with her, he injects her with the Reanimator reagent. Directed by Stuart Gordon, Reanimator was released in 1985 and is based on Lovecraft's novella Herbert West Reanimator. The movie landed Jeffrey Combs a cult status in horror films as fans were left impressed with his eccentric charm. A good balance of satire, comedy, and horror, Reanimator should be on your list if you like horror comedies. Fright Night. Tom Holland's directorial debut, Fright Night, is a fun vampire movie from the 1980s that has since inspired a media franchise. The movie's about Charlie Brewster, a 17-year-old who's completely sure that his neighbor, Jerry Dandridge, is a vampire. His suspicions are true, but nobody takes him seriously except his girlfriend, Amy, and his friend, Evil Ed Thompson. Charlie tries to get Jerry arrested, but who would believe vampirism to be a true charge? Jerry threatens Charlie to ignore him or face the consequences. Charlie, adamant of taking Jerry down, reaches out to Peter Vincent, the host of his favorite TV show, Fright Night. Will this unlikely alliance work out, or will the vampires reign supreme? Fright Night has your answer. Fright Night is one of the best movies of the 80s, and there are people ready to fight the dissenters of this opinion. Chris Sarandon as Jerry Dandridge, the vampire next door, is an unforgettable role, and the movie is full of fun, quotable lines. It's not a huge wonder that this movie has a cult following. Beetlejuice. Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice, Beetlejuice. Have any problems in the afterlife? Beetlejuice will handle it for you. Barbara and Adam Maitland recently passed away and have been trapped in their home. Unfortunately, they have to share it with the still living Dietz family, so they summon Beetlejuice to exorcise the Dietzes out of the house. Meanwhile, Lydia, the goth daughter of the Dietzes, befriends the Maitlands as she's the only one who can see them. Beetlejuice, however, has a secret agenda. He intends to marry Lydia to gain access to the living world. Together, the Maitlands and Lydia get rid of Beetlejuice, and the Dietzes learn to coexist with the Maitlands. Directed by a man who knows goth, Tim Burton, Beetlejuice premiered in 1988 and has had a massive cultural effect. Larry Wilson, the screenwriter of the movie, remarked that executives had chewed him out for such a bizarre script and had accused him of wasting his time and potential, but Wilson kept at it, and currently Beetlejuice is a widely loved franchise with movies, shows, musicals, and even video games. The offbeat humor and Michael Keaton's stellar performance have elevated the movie into a cultural milestone. Killer Clowns from Outer Space. Very rarely do movies lay it all out in the open in the titles, as Killer Clowns from Outer Space does. It's a simple movie about a bizarre alien spaceship that looks like a circus tent. This UFO unleashes a deadly race of aliens called the Clowns, who look exactly like our clowns do, that start killing everyone they encounter using circus-themed weapons. Mike's wife, Debbie, is kidnapped by the Killer Clowns, and with the help of Officer Dave Hansen and ice cream truck drivers called the Terenzi brothers, Mike breaks into the spaceship and saves her. This sci-fi horror comedy was written by the Chiodo brothers, Stephen and Charles, with Stephen directing the film. The movie is completely earnest with the threat of invasion, and its campy atmosphere is welcoming. A bizarre blend of science fiction, horror, and dark comedy, the movie is offbeat at times, but pleasantly so. If you're looking to get scared, this is not the film for you. But if you're looking to have a laugh riot, you're in the right place. Night of the Demons. Angela Franklin hosts a party in Hull House, an abandoned mortuary that is rumored to be haunted by cruel and evil spirits, and invites her friends, Suzanne, Stooge, Helen, Roger, Max, Franny, Judy, and Jay. Sal, Judy's ex, gate crashes the party as well. To entertain her guests, Angela holds a seance which inadvertently invites a demon. The demon first possesses Suzanne and has her forcefully kiss Angela to possess her as well. Angela then seduces Stooge and bites his tongue off, helping the demon possess him as well. The demon starts possessing or killing everyone till only Judy and Roger are left. They escape the house by scaling the wall and walk home silently. Night of the Demons, directed by Kevin S. Tenney, released in 1988 to mixed reviews. The story may not be that original, as there are innumerable movies about teens going to an isolated location and being the victims of supernatural killers or deranged murderers, but the execution of the movie is what matters. A Halloween must-watch, Night of the Demons has an interesting soundtrack with some creepy one-liners. It is cheesy at places, but has that campy gore that will have you wishing that it was the 80s once again. Things. A direct-to-video horror, Things is a 1989 movie directed by Andrew Jordan. The movie starts with a couple, Doug and Susan, who have resorted to unconventional experiments under Dr. Lucas to induce pregnancy after having no luck conceiving. Doug's brother Don visits their house with Fred, a friend. That day, things go awry as Susan gives birth to creepy creatures and dies. The creatures lock them in the house and begin hunting them. In the end, Don is the only survivor who sees Dr. Lucas approaching and berates him for his experiment. As the creatures attack Dr. Lucas, Don escapes. The shooting of the movie was a disaster. Doug Bunston included in his contract that he needed to be regularly provided beer, so he was drunk during filming. Andrew Jordan was high during the editing, so no part of this film has been created with a clear, conscious mind. The sloppy dialogues, weird editing, and a truly bizarre plot is definitely worth checking out. Marvelous verdict. We hope that now your binge list is full of movies that you can go to when you don't need a scare but a good laugh. Did we forget any of your favorites in this list? If so, let us know in the comments below. We will soon be back with more awesome stuff, but until then, take care.